Is this what you do all day now?
This is some creepy ass shit. What are you watching me for right now?
Is this what you do all day now?
What, wake up and someone's filming me sleeping?
How's training coming along now?
It's not too bad, actually. That was quite an enjoyable. We just did a hour and 40 minutes at 200 watts, 31.2 kilometers per hour, really getting moving.
Those of you who think that Lionel's overtraining, I can assure you, if I can hang with him on a bike, and Aaron can hang, and me, he's not training too hard. Are you training too hard?
And it just, to be honest with you, after, you know, going through the ups and downs of thinking, oh my God, I'm never gonna exercise again because it hurts, to be back training and not feeling pain and feeling confident pushing against the pedals is just a phenomenal feeling, and I'm just so grateful to be back exercising. Yeah, I've received advice and recommendations from quite a few different sources, doctors, physiotherapists, etc. And I mean, once again, you talk to 10 different people, you get 10 different answers in just about everything, in this regard anyway. But, I mean, I would say I'm taking a fairly conservative approach. I mean, an extremely conservative approach would be to just take all the time off and do nothing. And that almost, in looking in the literature anyway, that almost seems like that's I don't know what the word is, maladaptive or something, not a good orientation to it, because of the fact that bones, if not stressed a little bit, they don't grow as quickly. So in this particular case, you know, you want the thing, I need the thing to grow pretty rapidly. It's not like I'm like, not ever going to compete again or something. I would like to get back to competition as quickly as possible, and so a fairly conservative approach is to put a little bit of stress on the body in the area to sort of tell the body, come on dude, it's time to get this thing healed as quick as possible, because we are needing it. So yeah, no one's really recommended that I do nothing, actually, which has been great. Basically the recommendations have been, you know, certainly you should feel no pain, and still, even if you feel no pain, you should probably be quite a bit under even an area where potentially you might feel some pain. So that has been the last 2 weeks now of, you know, week 1 I was like under 150 watts, and week 2 now probably starting to get up to almost 200 watts. And that'll take me right into, and I won't keep it, or I won't go above 200 for the rest of the week, and then that'll be 6 weeks. So that's kind of like the minimum time to heal a bone, 6 to 8 weeks for a minor fracture. This probably is a little bit worse than a minor fracture. So you know, we're probably looking at closer to 10 weeks to get the vast majority of the healing done. But you know, we want to, just because this is my profession and this is sort of what I need to get back to doing very quickly, we want to make sure the muscles, everything, aren't atrophying, and we're providing an adequate stimulation to heal the bones quickly. So that's what we've been doing.
You look at other people that have been diagnosed with this injury and they spent almost like 6 to 7 months of not racing. Why aren't you doing 6 to 7 months of not racing?
Those guys didn't do. You're talking. I'm assuming you're talking about Jan Frodeno and Ben Hoffman. And the reason they spent 6 to 7 months of not racing isn't because of the injury. It's because of the season. When they got the injury, they got the injury at the end of the season. After, basically, I think both of them were after 70.3 Worlds. So those are two guys who don't really race late in the season. I have raced Ben late season a few times, but it purely has been his validation races for Ironman. He didn't race them, he just pretty much was doing them to finish them. So in Jan, I don't know if in the last, I can't really think of in the last decade where Jan was racing, you know, into November or late October. so those guys, I mean, it's not that they're doing that because of the injury. Had they got injured like myself in the beginning of the season, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that both of them will be taking the exact same approach as myself, because they're both racers. They both live for the big moments, and they want to go to Kona, because every year that you miss a Kona, you know, it's like the clock is ticking, and we're not getting any younger, and it's, you know, it's a sport that unfortunately you will begin to deteriorate at some. So I'm going to take it, I mean, I'm taking longer than 12 weeks actually, because the reality is, I mean, I injured the thing when I heard it, like when I could, it was clear as day. That was March 22nd. So March, April, May, June, well over, those are longer than 4-week periods in there because of a couple long months. So I'm really looking at 14 weeks that in my mind, before I really return to running again. So in that regard, I'm taking a very conservative approach.
Essentially, I was telling Lionel a few sessions ago is that, you know, you're trying to build a house, right? You're trying to build a foundation of strength and that type of stuff. You don't just go out and you build, you know, you don't just go out and frame on without building a foundation underneath, right? So there's, you know, whether that be, you know, a pad or, you know, basement or whatever you want to call it. So these are essentially kind of what we're doing is we're laying down the foundation for strength, foundation for kind of returning to sport more than anything else. Especially, you know, he's been running, he's been biking, he's been swimming. So, and all of a sudden the last kind of missing piece is that running, and this is kind of the foundation for getting back to running, that and some strength and stuff like that. So some carefully guided exercise does a lot of good in terms of turning on muscles or activating muscles and strengthening muscles.
Are you going to go for the Ironman world record in Mont Tremblant this year? What is your goal there? I mean, are you trying to be at your peak shape at that race? Are you trying to peak there for the year?
I mean, that's obviously impossible to be in peak form after less than 2 months of run training. If I start on June 24th, I'm going to get a little over 6 weeks of run training. I mean, I will be in probably the best bike form I've ever been in. I can pretty much say that for certain. And as well, I'll also be in the best swim form I've ever been in. I can say that for certain. And this will actually make I'm really excited for it, because it's going to make a great experiment. This is the one thing I've never experimented with that I've been forced to, and I've already learning great lessons. I mean, I can say for certain that I have never done an Ironman bike ride and not absolutely hated the bike at the end and been completely dead, trying to scratch my head and say, oh my God, I can't believe I have to run a marathon now. And I would equate a great deal of that to, sure, I've been in great upper limit form, but I just never have had the if you want to call it aerobic base or endurance or whatever, to make an Ironman bike 4.5 hours, let's call it, not taxing. And so this will be a great opportunity to make that not taxing.
Tip. So there's a muscle called the piriformis.
Okay.
Comes from greater trochanter, comes in and around, and actually attaches onto the front side. Okay. So actually, like right in here is what's.
So that is fractured. That thing.
On one side?
Yep, just on the front side.
This thing?
Nope.
Or that?
I mean, left or right side?
Left side.
Left side.
So your fracture is almost like right down in there. So it's very deep in the hip.
I see.
Will you go ahead and bite the bullet just because you want to go to Kona? I mean, is your goal to just get to Kona this year, or are you actually going to listen to your body? I mean, worst case scenario, the injury comes back a little bit, and will you still race Mont Tremblant just so you can get to Kona this year?
No. I mean, I'm not an idiot. Like I want to finish the season well, and I intend to do that. So I will listen to the body. I also want to exercise, like for sanity, for just you know, health and wellness, nothing to do with profession or anything. I want to be able to exercise, and so no. If something comes back or something, which I certainly hope it doesn't, then of course I will take if more time is needed, I'll take it. But you know, I've got a really good team around me who is taking a conservative approach, and we're increasing the load extremely gradually, even though I feel, see, really what we're trying to do is how you should do it is at the end of your workouts, whatever, you should say, oh, I feel like I could have done a lot more than that. And it should just, for the entire recovery process, that's the feeling you should have. So you never, ever, ever chance it, push it too much. It's always submaximal until we've gotten out of that 9 to 12 week window, which is the, you know, that's pretty established for bone growth and bone repair. So, I mean, people have been getting broken bones for whatever, since the beginning of human existence, and dealing with them under, you know, we didn't have desk jobs even, whatever, 100 years ago or something. So, you know, everyone was pretty physical, and you broke a bone, you know, you stayed off it a bit, but the body, you had to still be active because it was necessity, it was a hard life. So, you know, I think it's a luxury to be able to like sit around and do nothing for 3 months. Most people who break a bone are not going to be doing that.
So would it be safe to say that if you race Ironman Montreal, which is the last one on the calendar for the Ironman qualifying year for professional athletes, would it be safe to say you're going to go in probably a bit underprepared because you don't want to be overtrained and injured?
The only area I'll be, see, this is going to make a great experiment. I'm actually probably going to be, in terms of how a lot of the other guys, some good guys, train, I probably will have prepared much more similar to them than I have in the past. I've done pretty high run mileage in the past, and when I look around at guys, say, I mean, I've talked to some of the top guys, and they say, I couldn't run those kind of miles day in and day out, 120 to 160K weeks, week in and week out, because I'd get injured. And so, you know, maybe I'll probably be closer to 80 to 100K a week. But that's probably more in line with, if you're doing adequate, that's the thing, I've just been doing such small bike mileage that it's opened up time to run more. But I don't know, it's not really, if it was an open marathon, it'd be totally different. I mean, I'd have been in great form in the last couple of years. If we were just doing an open marathon, there's not a doubt in my mind I was in 220 marathon shape, open marathon. Unfortunately, we didn't have an open marathon to do. So it's really, and this is, you'll know that, like, I think one of the top prospects for the future is Cam Worth, because his bike, an Ironman is so bike heavy, just alone the bike itself accounts for over 50% of the race. But to think that it's just a bike and then a run, like, no, the run was massively impacted by that bike. And so it's gonna always heavily favor someone who is extremely bike fit, who's an extremely good biker, because the marathon is just so submaximal. There's not a guy on in the top 20 in Kona. Every single guy in the top 20 contender is able to run well under 2:35 marathon in an open marathon. Many of the top guys would be able to go sub 2:30 marathon. Some guys will be able to go sub 2:25, and a handful will be sub 2:20 marathoners. But you'll notice no one runs anywhere near those times. So it's so ridiculously submaximal for the vast majority of these guys to run even a 2:45. It could be 20 minutes slower than their actual ability. It just goes to show, of course, it's important to be run fit, but that you have to be extremely bike fit. And so, so this might, I mean, I'm not gonna, of course, you're always, you always, as an athlete, you always spin everything in a positive manner for yourself, because it's how we're wired. So I'm looking for ways to spin this in a positive manner, and this is going to be a great experiment, because from what I can see, it's actually being extremely swim fit and fast, of course, extremely bike fit and have the endurance, and then pretty obviously high upper limits on the run and a fair amount of endurance, but it's a slog on the run for everyone, and it's so submaximal. I'm not sure if it's that important to have done a massive amount of run training. The body is an amazing thing, put it that way. This certainly wouldn't, I mean, I probably could have done this, but I don't feel, I don't feel anything doing it, which is wonderful. You don't appreciate how great it is to have a properly functioning body until your body's not functioning properly. And then even this tiny little workout like this is so fantastic to do this and not feel pain. Make sure. The thing for me is I've done 20 years of running, so it's not like I'm starting from, it's ridiculous. I've maintained I'll have maintained quite a bit of fitness here. And you know, right out of the gates, it's not a doubt in my mind that I could run 4-minute Ks for half a marathon on day one, just because it's wired into my. I've been running for I have no idea how many thousands of miles I've run, but I've run a lot of miles, and I've run a high percentage of them fast. So you know, you hear this about great runners who get injured, or not get injured, take 2 or 3 years off, and then they come back and they're able to run very similar times very quickly, but then they get injured because their muscle memory is still there, but the systems have broken down and aren't adapted. So, I mean, I'm not taking years off. I'm taking a couple of months off of running, and we'll be back. So, to answer the question, you know, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a great experiment. I'm probably going to learn some great lessons from it.
Do you think any of your injury comes from your biomechanics, kind of your limp on the run, and then also, if it didn't, are you trying to fix that while coming back as well?
Here's the answer to this question. No one knows what caused what and what led to what. It's all speculation. I went to, and the reason I know this so well is because I went for 3 straight weeks to various professionals, and no one knew the answer. It was all speculation, and that's all. Oh, it's a stress fracture, you're overtraining, oh, it's your gait, it's your mechanics. It's all speculation. No one knows, and no one will know the answer to any of these questions. What I can say for certain, this is factual, not speculation, I fell directly on my butt in the area that is broken. I looked at the skeleton thing in the office. The sacrum certainly has looks like it, if you fell on it in the right angle, could easily be broken. If you can fall and break your collarbone, it's a thick bone, or fall and break your arm, then obviously you can fall and break the sacrum. Go look at a skeleton and you'll see that that's obvious. So that's a fact. Was there bone weakening? Was there a vitamin D deficiency? Was my gait contributing to things? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. If I have a vitamin D deficiency, well, I'm addressing that. A little bit of sunlight and some vitamin D and drinking some chocolate milk. So I'm addressing that. In terms of, was it weakening due to improper hip stabilization? No one knows the answer to that. But I'm starting a program to make sure that the hips are stabilized, to make sure the core is stabilized. I'm not going to say it was or it wasn't. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. And then finally, was it my gait? I mean, now that's a significantly more touchy subject, because many great runners have tried to screw around with their natural running gait and became slower runners and more injury prone. And so that's something you need to really think about and be very careful with what you do, because I do have 20 years of run experience. Without a doubt, I have had some deterioration over the years. More what you should address is, why has the running deteriorated over the years? And already in talking with as I had mentioned in a previous video, I had already started the process of trying to address the issue with a great run mechanic coach. And he said, for instance, what way do you breathe in swimming? And I said, I always breathe right. And he said, right there. So you've been running for 10 years, or you've been in triathlon for 10 years, and you always breathe right. That has changed you as a runner. And you don't, I don't think we tend to think like that, that repetitive motion over and over and over again will change you. So maybe there's something there. So for instance, this has been another blessing here, is I've started to breathe bilaterally, something I always wanted to do but just never took the time to do. And already I feel more comfortable breathing it's so much more balanced, it's so much better for your swim mechanics. Of course, in a race situation you want more oxygen, breathe whatever way that you feel confident. But in training, you need to try and be as balanced as possible. And so anyways, the moral of the story being, the biggest thing for me isn't necessarily to say, why do you have that little bit of a drag leg, that little bit of a limp? Of course, if we can address that, we'll address that, but only through very, very, what do you say, credentialed, that's not even a good word, just experienced professionals. That's who we'll work with in that regard. But what we really want to fix is the deterioration that we've seen and try and lessen the deterioration, and then the deterioration on the second half of the marathon. Those are our big ones that we need to address. Not so much making me look like Eliud Kipchoge or something like that. Like, that's just ridiculous. That's, you get injured without a doubt. You try and change to emulate another runner, you will be injured at the end of that process. And this, and also in talking to this guy who's worked with many great runners, he said you take 10 of the best runners, or 10 different runners, and don't look at a watch, just look at them run. No coach will be able to tell you who's the better runners of all of them, who's the faster, who's the slower, if that's all you have. You have to look at a watch, because run mechanics do not determine speed. There's a run mechanic that emulates sub 2:10 marathon pace. There's every run mechanic to emulate it. Heel strike, mid-foot strike, forefoot strike, oddities, bow-legged, all these oddities, they exist for all within all different peoples, and you can see people that are sub 2:10 marathon pace exhibiting all those run forms.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 called Rehabilitation, and we have my PT, Samuel Rockwater.
Got it.
Rockwater, I got
Nailed
it.
it.
Sam Rockwater.
Nailed it.
Also a fellow triathlete.
Fellow triathlete.
And for legal purposes, I have to ask you, can we include any of this on YouTube?
Yes, I hate being in front of a camera, but yes.
You did great on the camera.
I wasn't going for the camera. I was like, all right.
Yeah, no, you're good.
No
You're good. Sometimes some people are really like, they can't speak on the camera. It's kind of odd, but
Yeah.
What am I about to go do now?
We're gonna rest up, go shower, then go.
Oh yeah, we're going to play golf. We're going to play Top Golf.
I've been
I don't know,
trying.
I would never go to Top Golf if it was me, but Talbot lost too many balls the last time we played into the bushes, and we don't have any left, so we can't afford, we're laid off right now, we can't afford a new, to go to Target and get a 40 pack to go play on the real golf course, so we're gonna take them to a place where there's nets all the way up the side, and you just have to hit it straight down there into the little hole, and so that's what we're gonna do.